My handsome Greek, look about you. Cast your eyes on the gleaming forces of the Egyptian kingdom, for they are magnificent.
You exaggerate, man. Look out, Tullus, you had far more advanced units than what I have seen since you captured me.
Silence, Greek sophist. You will obey my words and tell us the strength of your forces. All of them, including your operatives in our land.
What's in it for me? What have you done to my voice?
Your life.
I am not naive. I know very well why none of Egypt's slaves are soldiers. Had you known we consider our explorers soldiers as well, my people would have never seen Intrepid alive again after his capture.
Other than the names of these men you mentioned, I don't find anything you have said today amusing.
Our armies are now strong enough to split you and your forces sideways from here to Thebes. Memphis even, if we can remember which road to take.
Though you may try to anger us, we will not be sidetracked. Tell us.
Intrepid. He was that Greek at Shepsit and I captured, along with that peasant couple.
Perhaps your return to my army was enough. It has not taken long since for you to anger me so. Respect the silence of the sands when I am interrogating.
Is that what this is?
By the divine rivers, your highness. Since my return, you never cease to depress me. Your whining and raving, it's madness. Respect your men as you do your title. You may grieve the loss of that Roman scholar and the warmth he shared with you at night, but that does not give you cause to spread that misery to the rest of us.
I thought you would not be sidetracked.
Silence,
Greek muta!
Yes, he was the one you captured. He is well.
What of the peasants?
Not so much.
No!
I suppose that was for not being able to get your hands on the Greek crossbowman we captured with him.
He was too old. There was little fight left in either of them.
I'm going to assume you're referring only to Greek men with that statement. Forgetting something, General?
As I live and breathe, Achilles, you still claim not to have ordered the deaths of Jason, Luther, and Maven yet?
I remind you, Heracles, that Healer's findings were inconclusive whether Luther and Maven were killed. What he did find was that there was a large amount of mind-altering substance in that couple's blood. They no doubt took to liking too much of it.
You malrecting moron! Your last action of this nature left Audie unconscious and near death for a month and cost you your yellow accented tongue. Any more will cost you your life.
Then Odysseus lobbied on your behalf, so you can keep your position as general. For giving to the fault, he nearly lost his council seat to Theseus in the next election for it. First Marsh, now Odysseus. No good deed goes unpunished when others choose to help you.
So you admit to killing Jason then? My predecessor on this council!
No, you dim-witted lowpack. Lieutenant killed all 3 of them. I only learned of their murders when Lieutenant asked for help covering it up. If I am guilty of anything, I am guilty of that, and that is all.
Again with this cover-up story, Achilles? You only started talking about it when we confronted you with a very detailed account of a conversation you had with one of Virtue's men and several others outside Sparta.
That private only started spreading that fiction when Trigger brought him to task for his insubordination against me. A shadow of doubt hangs over his credibility. None of those he said would corroborate his story did.
Regardless, Achilles, you have been accused of misconduct and you have admitted to it. You know very well the penalty laid down for this crime. You can join Lookout and the rest of those Spartan troublemakers in your expulsion from this council.
Good riddance to bad rubbish.
I hope you know what you're doing, Abe.
Such statements are not helpful now, Zach. For your sake as well as mine.
Well, you did suggest this change of dress. It probably kept these Greeks from attacking us without a word.
For the last time, Zach, we wear uniforms, not dresses.
How are we going to be able to communicate with them? Except a swear or two, they know no Egyptian.
Our German sounds very much like Greek.
So do the British words sex and sex. But I assure you, mistaking one for the other brings about misfortune indeed.
It's a good thing I'll be doing the talking then.
Perseus, in further accordance with Greek law, you, as junior-most councilman, will represent the interests of Sparta on this council, until such a time as the next round of elections are held.
I know that won't be any time soon. You have made me ineligible to run, and without me in the race, Lookout will win Sparta's seat this time. By a landslide.
Citizen Achilles, no man in this military may run for council. As Marshmallow has reminded you before, scouts and explorers, including Lookout and Intrepid, are military officers. They have been for many decades.
These 2 gentlemen we picked up just outside Egyptian territory have very convincing intelligence about not only Egypt, but also their allies.
Past and present.
Zachary! This is highly irregular.
Very convincing. Elaborate, Lieutenant.
Certainly, Heracles, sir. We will need to dispatch someone to fetch Intrepid to be certain. May I suggest Councilman Perseus?
Such would be a task for a peasant. Or a slave.
You may, Lieutenant. Go to it, Perseus. With haste.
Where is Terwakamin? I demand to speak with him. Argon, what are you doing here? Should you not be in Rome?
I should be. But
urgent dispatches from one of your generals warranted enough concern that I visit in person. Here he comes now.
Greetings, NYNETJER. It's been some time.
Some time? I haven't seen or heard from you since the day after we arrived back here in Thebes after taking our leave of Berlin.
The silence was necessary. Long before the British started taking our cities, they began to shatter our communications network. They have now accomplished this, but fortunately, the Romans will be restoring that network, amongst other efforts.
What other efforts? Why this ambiguity?
We once had a man who wanted to be king and dismantle our republic. He acted like one. Every decision, from who to go to war with, to the fate of each of our slaves, went through him. He made every final call. He favored the wishes of our elite, even went so far as to name his son his eventual successor. Thanks to Tawakaman's accounts, we now know just how closely the two of you share leadership styles. Of course, unlike him, you have no heir, male or otherwise.
The Greeks attacked us first. They all but took Memphis the first time and then burned it to the ground. As for Winnie, I had no idea that the child she was carrying was yours, dear Wakaman. You bettered a Greek slave once, and we all know how well that turned out. So
NYNETJER, Pharaoh of the Egyptians, the Roman Senate has found you guilty of killing two of its guard slaves and killing your own people many times over without just cause. How do you plead?
not guilty.
As though your opinion really matters.
Vulture, child of Set! May the ravenous jackals feast on your bones for this betrayal!
Betrayal? I tend to think of it as a realization that our priorities no longer agree. Wouldn't you say, Terwalkerman? I recently sat in on one of our sophist class in Alexandria. He said that life is pain. All we can do is endure. Looking at your corpse, NYNETJER, split from head to toe, it makes me realize that he was wrong. Death is pain. Remind me to pay him a visit next time we are at that university, Terwalkerman. It is time that he tests its advice empirically.
I was told on good authority that you had guaranteed that her death would be at my blade.
NYNETJER waffled too much on the Greek factor. It began your people's descent from power in this part of the world, leading you to begging on our doorsteps. The final price of your admittance into our alliance was eliminating her. Now you, Terwalkerman, are Pharaoh of Egypt, as unlikely as it was to be. But remember, you are not leading an independent nation.
Are you speaking of another attack on Greece at this time? My country's armies are not enough to defend our own lands, let alone conquer new territories. We have never been able to hold on to Delphi, let alone take Athens. It will take some time before your armies here are of sufficient number for us to...
A change in strategy that neither Hatshepsut, NYNETJER, or even that foul leader of the Germans could see is in order. Sparta does not have the British reinforcements
Delphi has. We land some distance from that port and bypass it towards Sparta. Then, with it under our control, we finally obtain the foothold in Greece from which to eliminate them at last.
Very well then, Argon. I am ready to proceed.
Your addressing me as Argon breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds contempt. I allow that to happen with NYNETJER, but I will not make that same mistake again. You will address me as Council. Ready yourself and your men to depart in 3 days.
Halt! Come no closer. I will approach you to verify your identity.
Private.
Do you not see the new stripe on my shoulder, Councilman? I am a lieutenant now.
I assume you told Lookout about the complaint you filed with Council. He found it amusing and recommended you for a promotion, seeing as how he's a soldier and all.
Something like that. You have been gone for more than a fortnight, almost a week longer than expected. We presume you are successful in your mission.
Yes, Private. I gave Heracles no choice but to banish me from Council. Is Lookout ready to receive me?
He has been for almost a week.
By his own blade?
I'm afraid so. The angle of the cut demonstrated an action consistent with the right hand, and the wound is clearly deeper from left to right. If that is not enough to exonerate Outlook in aiding his death, it also happens that Outlook is left-handed.
Sage will be pleased to learn of your findings, Healer. I hope you will seriously consider documenting your investigative methods for others to study and follow.
As will Lookout and his family, assuming someone will authorize an effort to inform him.
Where is the General's body being held now?
This is where it gets a bit complicated. While rejecting his Egyptian heritage publicly since learning of it, he embraced it wholeheartedly in his private life, and his afterlife it seems.
How's that then?
He altered his will some months ago that he be embalmed.
Infuriating even after the bitter end. If Calden wasn't so dead, I'd surely kill him myself now.
What of your other patient? The live one?
Spice's body has become more dependent on those strange weeds and mushrooms than anyone I have ever seen before. I've been weaning him off these substances for several weeks now, but he is showing no signs of improvement. Of course, Tycoon was the only other person I've ever seen or heard of in this condition.
This is what was causing his concerning talk?
Of seeing you Councilman overthrown unless this war with the Egyptians comes to an end? That is all that I am certain of. Had you approached me about this more quickly after you observed this behavior...
Ultimately, it's of no concern. Another caravan has already taken his place. You are dismissed, Healer. Now, with Calden deceased and both Baranga and Nuisance unaccounted for, you, Maynard, are promoted to General. There is no one else in our cavalry's ranks that we can trust to this magnitude, so you'll have to command all 3 divisions until further notice. I do not envy your task, son, but you must do what must be done.
Aye, sir.
Now, about this Abraham fellow. How did he escape? Why did his compatriot not flee with him? Marsh?
Me? I delegated responsibility for those 2 so-called germs.
That's Germans, General.
Oh, prig.
Therein lies your first mistake.
How dare
You civvy, you were a child when this war broke out and are still wet behind the ears when it comes to how we Greeks govern ourselves. You watch your damn sheeing mouth.
You're out of line, Marsh. Step back and apologise at once.
No need, Heracles. Durango is right when he says Marsh is a brute, all brawn and no brains. His opening his mouth only reinforces what we have known about him all along. Perhaps if we install a new First General, he will be able to strategize something more creative than hit-and-run attacks. I nominate Nusant in absentia.
Perseus, show your elders some respect and make amends this instant.
This, too, is highly irregular.
Oh yes, you'd like that, wouldn't you, Percy? Install new salt and then concoct some legal gula about the council needing to rule in his good name for the sake of all of Greece.
Spartans! Spartans!
What's that? Yeah, them too, I suppose.
They're coming! They're charging them! Burn in Hades, heathenous traitors!
Maynard, we are not here to start a civil war.
Won't you fools listen to reason? We're here to...
Stand down, Private.
What are you doing here, then?
We came here to warn you about Yorick.